Hi, I'm Carrie. Welcome back to my channel. Today's my monthly wrap-up video I call my Monthly Musings, where I share tidbits about life and my tarot practice, basically. I had a lot of readings to fulfill and a lot on my own personal plate. So it was an extra busy month. I don't have much to share as far as like TV shows or movies. I know we watch stuff, but I can't think of anything right now, and it's mostly because I was just vegging out by the end of the day and things going in one ear and out the other, kind of. I will say this is my own fault. If you're going to open the door to spirit, make sure you close it. Make sure you close it. Cut off that communication, sever that tie, whatever. I got wrapped up in doing other things, and I, just like I said a minute ago, I had all these readings, and I kind of left the door open to spirit. So I had some activity happening around the house at night, being woke up by spirits in the middle of the night, tapping on my shoulder, whispering in my ear, that sort of thing. So I had to do a lot of cleansing in my house this month, and to, get rid of that energy, sever those ties and that. So if that's any kind of work that you do or you're diving into, just make sure you close the door at the end of your sessions. That's my little tip on that. So let's get on to my practice. I haven't shown my journal on here, I don't know, 3 months now, maybe. And the reason being is because I'd have to cover everything up in it anyway. I'm not doing the readings like I did the past couple years, where I was pulling the weekly energy things, and those readings are kind of on the lighter side. My readings are more in depth, covering some issues that I really want to look into and explore more, and so I just have not been sharing my journal for those reasons. I am still journaling. It just looks different now. I'm not putting myself in a you've got to do it this way format. I'm doing my own thing. I'm only putting readings in here that I really want to look into in more depth, and my omens are all in here. So that's really what this is for now. I'm not doing it where to make, I still make it look pretty, but not to the level that it was before. It's a little bit more practical this year for me, and I like it, but I'm finding I'm missing color in my journals, so I've got to find a better balance with it. But that's the only reason that I haven't been showing it, because I would just have to cover too many things up, so there's really no point. I am still doing those omen days and following through with that, and let me tell you what, those have been pretty freaky. It's just amazing how things that I notated back on a certain day at the end of December into the first few days of January to project forward into the coming year, and how they are coming to fruition. It is, I love stuff like that. I live for it. I live for that woo factor. It's just very intriguing. I really enjoy doing that. So that's just why I haven't talked about my journal very much. I'm still in that whole simplify mode. I'm not doing very well on the low buy year, but I don't even want to go down that path. And I was in the beginning, but we've kind of, taken a detour a little bit. And yeah, I think that's it about the journal. So let's talk about decks and other goodies that I used in the month of May. So in the very beginning of the month, I started seeing the numbers 1111. And I've never been one to put a huge amount of emphasis on that, the whole number phenomenon thing. I know about it, and sometimes I would stop and notice things in my life before, but the level that things were occurring this month were off the charts. So what happened was, this is an independent deck by Mandy Peterson, the 1111 Oracle. I think I did a walkthrough. Of this deck. It started out at the beginning of the month. I woke up in the middle of the night. Well, it wasn't even the middle of the night. I had only been asleep 45 minutes. And I woke up feeling like I had slept the entire night and that it was time to get up out of bed. And when I looked at the clock, it was only 11:11. And like I said, I'd been asleep for less than an hour. So I took note of that. I was like, well, this is weird. And then, I think it was a couple days later, maybe, my husband had a grocery receipt and it was 11:11. And then right after that, we went through a drive-through for fast food, ordered, and our total was 11:11. Then the very next week, I had my son out and he asked if we could stop and get him something to eat. I said, sure. Went through a different fast food restaurant, different order, different everything. And the total was 11:11. License plates with 11:11. I got a receipt from the bank. I was in the bank drive-through and they sent my receipt over to me, and the timestamp on the receipt was 11:11. It was just ridiculous how many times it was showing up in my life for the whole entire month of May. And I even had to contact a client to remind them about their appointment on the 11th at 11 a.m. in the month of May. So that's when I got this deck out. And what I did was I used it with the Unfolding Path Tarot because basically for aesthetics, I could have used any tarot with it really, but I really like the way these two look together. So I would shuffle up the 11:11 Oracle and ask, what did today's 11:11 mean? The card would come out, and then I would use, hopefully this is all on camera, and I would use the 4 things around the edges as the prompt. So, maybe the main theme was finding peace, and then pull a card for each one of the outer rim and what it has to say. And that was really interesting, what was coming out for that. So I've been very aware of that number. It's still occurring for me. It's still coming out, not quite as frequently as it was at the beginning of the month, but it is still making its appearance. And these two decks they're just lovely together. It's the same, it has the same vibe. That's how I feel about it anyway. And I really enjoyed using these two together because it was just a really great match. So, and like I said, the coloring is like that watery type coloring is very similar in both of them. So that was 2 decks that I used. So the next 2 decks that I used for some readings in the month of May are the Seasons of the Witch Beltane Oracle and the Tarot of the Witch's Garden. I love both of these decks so much, but Tarot of the Witch's Garden really holds a special place in my practice because this deck, I don't know, I just feel it is so good. It's like I could never decide between my Green Witch Tarot and this tarot. They both are right there top tier for me. And well, apparently the garbage men decided to toot their horn. I don't. Oh, that's how today is going. But anyway, I really do love both those witch decks that I just talked about. But the Tarot of the Witch's Garden and the Beltane Oracle pair beautifully together and give some of the best readings. And I talked about how I use these Seasons of the Witch Oracle decks because I am going to purchase all of them. I already have all the ones that are out right now. I think there's two more to come, and I enjoy using them. They don't get as much frequent use as some of my other decks, but that's okay. But I talked in how to use your Oracle decks, I believe it was that video, about how I'm using this, where I will go through the deck and use it as a spread deck, pulling out certain cards and then using the tarot to deep dive that concept of the card. So I did that for a couple readings, and then I also just shuffled it up and, you know, what do I need to focus my attention on right now? Pulled 3 cards and then went deeper into those 3 cards with the tarot. And I only pulled like 2 or 3 tarot cards for each one of the oracle cards. And those were some really nice readings that I did just using a couple decks. So it gave me a lot to think about and to work through and things like that. And those are the kind of things that are in my journal right now, and since I'm not doing the weekly card pulls anymore. So if you have these 2 decks, pair them together because they are really, really beautiful with one another. So another deck that I used in the month of May is this Inquire Within deck. I think I showed this on here when I first got it in. I'm pretty sure I did. But anyway, this is a companion deck of daily tarot questions. It's put out by Annie. I can't pronounce her last name. Abolian, maybe Abolian, the tarot professor on Instagram. I enjoyed using this deck, and I used this in my little membership group that I have. And I didn't use any tarot with it in that group. I wanted people to use it in their own way, because I have some people in that group that use cards, that use tarot cards. Other people just use oracle, and then I have some in there that only journal. They don't use cards at all. And so this was really a nice bridge for the small group that I have. It was a nice bridge for people to be able to adopt or use in their own way throughout their day. And even I pulled my own cards from this deck, but I didn't pull any tarot around it. I really used it as something to think about throughout my day, to look for or to work into my day in some capacity. Like, what might I need to examine more closely today, and try to keep that in mind, you know, if that would have been the card that came out for me. Or how can I be more open to my authentic self today? So this is a nice little deck, especially if you are looking for something to pull cards on without just what is my energy for the day. Maybe you could pull one of these to start your week and then pull some cards around it. And it was pretty inexpensive. I want to say in the $20 range, I'm pretty sure. So, but like I said, it's the Tarot Professor on Instagram. And I know that she has some clone accounts out there, so make sure that if you are looking her up, that it's the real account to it. But yeah, this was really fun to use in a way that, you know, gave me something else to focus on rather than just cards. I say how many cards this was. There are 78 cards in this deck. So towards the end of the month, my husband and I got to enjoy some time outside on our porch. We put on a music playlist and just went out there and enjoyed the evening. And he loves his true crime podcast. He, I think, listens to a few different podcasts. And even my one girlfriend, when she comes over, the two of them will go back and forth about these true crime stories and true crime podcasts. I've been approached a few times about doing readings for missing persons, doing readings on crimes and those kind of things. And I have always turned those readings down. I don't feel comfortable doing those readings for others. So that is like one of those boundary lines that I didn't talk about in my other video. I don't do those types of readings. But while we were sitting out there, he was telling me something about, true crime story. And I said, well, wait, let me go get a deck. So I decided to try my hand at seeing what I could figure out in regards to some of those stories. So he would, recall one of his true crime podcasts, and then I would just start throwing cards. And I use the Morgan Greer, that's why I have it out here. So like if the Fool came up, I might have said they were alone. There was no one else with them when things happened, and he would say yes. And then I would just, pull the cards and look at the colors and try to see, what was going on in the cards. Like this, I might have said it happened in the home or around the home. I know the Lovers and the Devil had come out together, and I had interpreted that as, a love affair, and the incident happened around that. So it was interesting the way things came out in the card. I couldn't believe that this deck would be the one that I pulled to do that, but it worked really, really well. And I know there's like that true crime oracle deck or something that I don't know, I think it's like 100 and some cards. It's really pricey though. But this was neat to do it this way, and it was nice for me and him to like bring the love of two separate things together. We're able to, kind of bridge that gap and, do things together for that. So that was a neat thing to try out and do. And I did kind of enjoy pushing my limits and pushing my boundaries. That was really, really interesting. And I enjoyed that immensely. So something else I did in the month of May was I read some more in A Walk Through the Forest of Souls by Rachel Pollack. I wanted to get this book done a month ago. I was hoping to finish it this month. I need to putting pressure on myself and just do it in my own time and quit thinking that I have this deadline to meet, because I don't. But anyway, I have been highlighting and writing in the margins of this book, and I don't know, I am really, really enjoying it. I mean, look, I wrote all up the sides of the page, and I am working through the readings in this book. I'm trying to work through them before I read her interpretation of her cards. So it was the one I worked on just this past week was, did the tarot exist before creation? How did God use tarot to create the world? Is God bound by tarot? What is our relationship with God? What is our part in that partnership? And what is God's part? And it was so interesting, the cards that came out. And the deck I used, which you're going to be tired of hearing me even mention this deck, and that's the Tarot Landscapes. But I'm sorry, I am currently obsessed with this deck right now. I gushed all over it in the Tarot Romance video. So this deck was, it might be upside down. Yes, it is. This deck was perfect, I feel, to use for questions about creation because of just the landscape and everything. And I noticed that a lot of my religious upbringing in that was coming up when I was, you know, pulling cards and thinking about those questions. So it was really interesting. This is the same book, in case you don't know, that last year the tag was going around about what is soul, and I did that tag, and man, that reading was profound. So I'm really enjoying the concept of this book, and I really like using the tarot landscapes in those readings, because I can't remember what deck I used for the soul for the soul reading, but I didn't have this deck yet. So I will continue to use this deck with these readings out of this book as long as I see fit, because it was really eye-opening, some of the things that were coming up for me, and I'm enjoying that. And you know what, I used to like, oh my gosh, don't write in a book, don't this, I don't care, they're my books, I don't get rid of them. I mean, I have sold some books over the years, like old romance books and that kind of thing, but I've never ever gotten rid of any of my, oh no, I take that back. I got rid of one tarot book one time, and it was an original tarot spells book I had from way back in the 90s, and ended up having to repurchase it because I gave it away, and then, you know, things changed in my practice and I needed it back. So I don't get rid of my tarot books. So I don't care if I write in them. I write all over my tarot books because I like to reference back to that. And I'm a dog ear the pages person, and that drives my son crazy. He does not like card. That's like, I was told I couldn't riffle shuffle his deck. The deck that I bought for him, I was not allowed to riffle shuffle it because he does not want his cards bent, bowed, or anything. He wants them to stay nice and flat, and I'm like, I don't know how you can shuffle like that, but anyway. So let's get into what I brought in new in the month of May. I'm going to go down a Greek mythology rabbit hole and study up on some of these Greek myths. This whole thing came about because of my working with the Aphrodite energy, the Aphrodite concept. I talked about that at the beginning of the year when I decided to start working in that energy and with that deity. And yeah, some things occurred in my work with her this month, and I thought, I need to know more. I mean, I had read some things online about her, but I thought, nope, I definitely need to know more. So I picked up this book. This is Mythology, Timeless Tales of Gods and Heroes by Edith Hamilton. This is the 75th anniversary edition. So here are the contents. I'm not going to read all through this. You can pause and zoom in if you'd like. So hopefully this is all on camera, but this is the concept of it. And it has, let me see if I can find the page. It has like charts of like family trees. Yeah, like the principal gods and who created who and that sort of thing. So I thought that was interesting for this one. And then I also picked up, I got that one off of Amazon, I should say. This one I picked up at my local Barnes & Noble. The Greek Definitive Guide to Greek Mythology, The Gods, Heroes, Monsters, Legends of Ancient Greece by Rowan Bartlett and Fiona Bale. And I've already wrote in this one. This one is really, really big. Here is the contents if you want to zoom in and look at that. So I had some things come up. Let me see if I can find it. about Aphrodite and Persephone. And I thought I need to know more about the dynamic between these two and what is going on here. So as you can see, hopefully on camera, I underlined and, you know, put some brackets around things, but I found out, according to this, that Aphrodite was in love with Adonis, but Adonis died he was killed by a boar. So she went to the underworld, asked Persephone to bring Adonis back to life. And in doing that, Persephone fell in love with Adonis. So then Zeus had to come down and declare, because they were fighting over Adonis, of he would spend so many months with Persephone, so many months with Aphrodite, and then so many months with whoever of his choosing. And Persephone became extremely jealous of Aphrodite. She didn't like that Adonis favored Aphrodite more, so she had a boar chase him and kill him. But that made so much sense to me after I read it, because of what occurred for me earlier in the month. And I know I'm sounding cryptic and everything, but it was really strange and off the charts weird. And yeah, so I wasn't going to talk about it, but I needed to know what the dynamic was between Aphrodite and Persephone, because it did play a big role in how I was going to have to move forward in working with Aphrodite. Speaking of Persephone, a deck that I brought in the month of May was the Tarot of Persephone's Garden. And I just saw on her Instagram account that once these decks are gone, they're gone. She's going to reprint it in a different manner. It's going to change, is basically what she said. And this is by Faye and the Flame. I think that's their name on Etsy, and that's the name on her shop online. And I got one of her imperfect decks. This one is, I don't see any imperfections in it at all. I think it was just the box something was with the box or whatever. So when it was discounted the way it was, I didn't want to pass that up. This one is beautiful also. I like the artwork that was chosen for the cards. I can see the meanings through that artwork on the cards. Mine did not come with a guidebook. I don't think she has a guidebook, and I don't even have a PDF code. So if it has a PDF, I don't know. But yeah, it's still in order because I haven't worked with it yet. So I wanted to keep it in order for right now, but it is lovely. There was absolutely nothing wrong with my cards. It was just the box, and I don't care about tuck boxes. So this is beautiful, and it's on linen cardstock. So it's going to be a joy to work with when that time comes around for me. But I didn't want to miss out on having this deck, especially when the discount price was so good. And I think she has some more of those, but you would definitely have to check out her shop. And the last deck that I'm going to talk about that I got in the month of May is the Seasons of the Witch Litha Oracle. I already showed this deck when I was doing my Psychic Tea video, and I just kind of had this one and the Beltane Oracle out together and was comparing them, not talking about them, just basically showing them. So you've probably already seen the cards to this. There's been a bunch of walkthroughs. This is a really lovely deck. The Beltane Oracle, I think, is one of my favorites, and I think this one's going to become one of my favorites too. I really enjoyed reading some of the entries in the guidebook for this one. I think the images are just adorable, and I'm looking forward to using it over the summer. So I think that's everything. I think that's everything I worked with. I think that's everything that I did as far as my practice goes. Again, I apologize if you can hear all the other noise outside. I've got dogs barking, garbage trucks going by. It's so beautiful today, and I wanted to take advantage of that and have the windows open instead of running the air conditioning. So I am enjoying this pre-summer weather, I guess. So thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate you being here. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Tell me in the comments below what you are working with or did work with. I don't know what day it is, what you did work with in the month of May, and anything new that you did in your practice. I would really love to hear that. And until I see you next time, bye.